that, I'll actually just pass it off to Alderman Scott for an intro.
Good evening, everybody, and I am so happy to have all of you here this evening to talk about the future of North Lawndale and this site that we have at Kostner Roosevelt. As many of you know, this is the old silver shovel site and has been in disrepair, if you will, for the last 30 plus years. There have been several opportunities for us to try to develop this site, and that just has not happened due to many different things. And so when I first got in office, it was on the tail end of the Obama Presidential Library that we thought was coming to this site. Unfortunately, we did not get that, and I began to scramble to try to figure out what we were going to do. I think this is the largest and best resource that we have in our community in terms of just land. 21 acres of contiguous land does not happen too often in the city of Chicago. And so I went into planning mode to try to figure out how do we program the space, and was approached by Clarius Partners about 6 years ago, and we started a process there that we thought would get in the ground that unfortunately did not happen because of monetary reasons and environmental reasons on that site. With that being said, when this administration came in, their focus on equity and their focus on the neighborhoods made this a prime target for us to begin working again. And that is exactly what we anticipated on doing. I was a little bit apprehensive about the way that we were going to go about this with a RFP. This is something that is new to folks in Chicago, and especially to elected officials. We had a bevy of folks who had started to ask us about this land, and I did not believe that this process would happen as efficiently and as fast as it did. And so want to give a shout out to the West Region planners for all their hard work in making sure that this RFP came to fruition in the time that it did. And I just want to say to all of you guys, I think that you're going to be really impressed by the submissions this evening. We're going to see in the next 2 days, we're going to see six really quality projects that can be issued on the site. I'm not in favor of any one of them yet. That is why we're here today, to kind of talk about which one is best for our community and which would have the best catalytic effect for our community in terms of jobs and in terms of wealth generation, community wealth building, all the things that we've talked about over the last 6 years. This RFP has put it there, and the people who are presenting today have really given a great bit of thought to how they bring that to our community. And so I'm appreciative, one, of them wanting to develop it into this community, but two, wanting to be a partner with myself and to every community member here in North Lawndale to make sure that we do have what we want and what we need in this site. I'm not going to stay long because I know everybody's eager to see what I've seen this afternoon, but I do want to take a time again to thank the West Region planners. One, to say to the commissioner, who again, I thought, I didn't think that this would bring about the kind of proposals that it did. I want to say that, hey, I'm a believer now with the way that these proposals have come in. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and wanting to be a part of the planning of our community. Look forward to engaging you guys in conversations a little bit later. God bless. Oh, no, before I go, one other thing. I'm going to take personal privilege while I'm here and let you guys know, in addition to this, the mayor has given us in the Chicago Protect Plus plan, we have a community vaccination site here in North Lawndale. If you are in the 60623, 60624 in North Lawndale in general and would like to be vaccinated, I would urge you to call North Lawndale Health Center to see if you can get vaccinated. Open to anybody who's over the age of 18, and we want to get as many people vaccinated as possible. I am going to put that number in the chat because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'll put that in the chat. And please, anybody who wants to get vaccinated, we want you to get vaccinated. God bless you guys and stay safe. Back to you, Ethan. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. With that, I believe Commissioner Cox is here as well.
Excellent. So greetings, good evening, everyone. And it's wonderful to be in North Lawndale and to have so many participants who are, turning on Zoom TV, looking at what is happening in your community. So I just wanted to, thank Alderman Scott for his leadership and his willingness to try something new relative to one of the most valued sites in his ward, that Roosevelt and Kostner, and understand that for all of us, this is a new process. It is a rare that a community shines this much sunlight onto the development process. You will be meeting 6 inspired development teams this evening. You will be seeing their presentation at the same time that I am seeing them. So this is happening together. We're going to meet their proposals, and I think you're going to be impressed. But they're here to present their visions for the site to you. We have different mechanisms to receive input. So we really want you to take notes, think of those questions, and be ready to engage them, because from Mayor Lightfoot's philosophy, this is what equitable development looks like. This is what a process that engages residents in the decisions that will shape their neighborhoods look like. So I just want to thank you all for doing it. Shout out to the planning department team that has nurtured this project and this process to this level. Couldn't do it without you, and I just will turn it over to them. And once again, just thank you for your participation this evening.
Thank you. With that, I'll try to get through some opening remarks and kind of a recap of how we got to this point, updating people. I know a lot of people are newer into this conversation, so I'll try to update you as best as possible while getting to the developers as soon as possible as well. With that, as stated by the Alderman and the Commissioner, this RFP attempts to go kind of above and beyond what the City of Chicago has normally done in an RFP, modeled after the Invest Southwest initiative and RFPs issued through that program as well. In this case, obviously, to reactivate a long vacant industrial site. 3 items for today, what we hope to do. First, you are meeting the respondent teams. We are learning about the proposals, and there is time for questions, providing feedback. And as stated by the Commissioner, there's ongoing opportunities for that feedback beyond tonight. Quick recap of how we got to this point. This is part of a longer RFP process that started this summer, driven by kind of the Alderman's goal as stated, and assisted in kind of a visioning process with pro bono assistance from IIT Architects. The RFP was issued in late September. Responses were due back late December, and we're now at this part 1 and part 2 of the evaluation process. Further on, we will select a developer and begin that negotiation. There is certainly more opportunities and continued opportunities for engagement throughout this process and going forward as well. Very briefly about the site, which I'm sure you are all quite familiar with. It's been vacant for decades at this point. As stated, the Alderman had received numerous proposals and thought the RFP process could create a more competitive and transparent outcome. The RFP, above and beyond goals already stated, had 2 real focuses. These were job and wealth creation for the community and in the community, and then to be a good neighbor when you're reactivating a vacant site. There was a series of urban design suggestions created to highlight what the department and what the city believes a site could do well on the location, although there's lots of ways to interpret this, and we look forward to seeing how entities have interpreted this. Highlighting those 2 points very briefly, on job and wealth creation, the intention is really that teams go beyond 26 and 6 MWBE requirements for contracting of minority and women-owned firms, that there's a focus on local hiring, job access, quality wages, opportunities for advancement or training, and then other ways to actually build local wealth, not just hire, but how do you actually support business and wealth creation in North Lawndale. Second, very briefly, to be a good neighbor, again, involved both meaningful local involvement with local organizations, businesses, or partners that your development team could reflect who is actually in the community. And then from a more tangible perspective, how to address reactivating an industrial site, being a good neighbor from environmental noise, trucking concerns, and create a high quality built environment. There were 6 respondent teams. We'll see 3 tonight, as listed on the left, and then 3 more tomorrow. And then very briefly, after this recap, we have a 8-minute video prepared by each team to most efficiently present their information. That'll be followed by 20 to 25 minutes of just open Q&A and feedback from the community, giving impressions of the proposal and additional clarification and comments. Things to keep in mind. These are the same metrics that'll be used by the city in our internal evaluation and should be used by the community when you're thinking about the project and each of these projects. Generally, what overall excites you or concerns you about each project. And then again, that focus on community wealth building. How does this, again, involve minority-owned team members, empower or connect to the West Side and to North Lawndale, and promote kind of job creation or wealth creation? And again, competence and appropriateness of the design, of the quality of the team and their partners. And again, noting that these same metrics are used by the city in our internal evaluation process. Community feedback uses the same criteria and will be incorporated into the evaluation process as well. And then finally, very briefly, I'll cover this at the end as well, but comments, your verbal comments, anything written in the Q&A or the chat, but please use the Q&A first and foremost, will be synthesized and presented back by DPD. An online survey will go out after these 2 meetings that any additional comments can be provided. We will provide all that evaluation back to the community to say, did we hear you? And so you have another chance to determine if we say, it looks like there's a top tier, that might be a top 2 projects, top 3 projects. We don't know because we'll wait to see what happens. But our intention is to show you what we believe you've been saying in the process. And briefly, I want to note some early questions that have already popped up. How many jobs are generated per site? I'll address that on the next slide. But then people asked about, how does this connect to existing plans and projects? That's actually more of a question to the city almost than to each developer. Each developer can give you their version of it, but I want to note that even the RFP as a whole was designed to connect to things like the 2018 Quality of Life Plan. The section about economic and workforce development has key elements that directly tie to the goals of the RFP that the developers are responding to and incorporating elements of proactively. So I want to note that as well. And then there's a series of material available on chicago.gov/North Lawndale that's already been shared thus far. And very briefly, because this was mentioned and this was shared in the January roundtable, I've taken the economic impact summary provided by each development team and tried to segment out just the direct permanent jobs, which can be explained further, but largely doesn't include construction or temporary work. And then the total development costs. This was asked multiple times. So attempting to present this, again, these numbers are somewhat variable and developers will acknowledge that as well. So it's more kind of a frame of reference as you're thinking than hard numbers that should be the ultimate single decision point, but it's something to consider. So with that, we'll jump into the presentations, kicking that off by introducing our facilitator Claudette Baker, Claudette.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to these presentations for the Southwest Corridor for Roosevelt and Kostner. I'm Claudette Baker, and I will move us through the process. This evening, as been stated, each developer will have an 8-minute video, but following the developer's video will be your time to ask questions. You can ask your questions through the chat function or you can raise your hand. You have a raise hand feature. We do ask a few ground rules or rules of engagement as we go through this evening. And that is, as you're all muted, is to remain muted unless you are speaking. We do ask that you respect the deck. So we will be monitoring, the order that the questions come in, and we'll take them in that order. That, all questions and all ideas are valid. Let me back up one, that you please state your name when you are, if you are verbally asking a question to the developer. One other thing that we just want to be mindful of, and this is for the developers and to the roundtable participants as well, is that this is a timed event. And so part of my job is to keep us on time. And so, for developers, we ask that if you're handing off to someone else on your team, that they're adding new information to what you may have. Or it may be that we have to cut some of that short. We do try to give a warning when the time is up for each period. As stated, we've got about 20 minutes or so, 20 to 25 minutes, which includes, the presentation and the Q&A. And for those of you who will be asking questions, please ask your question pretty succinctly, to the point, in a timely manner. So we thank you again for your presence, and we will have the first video from the 548 Development and Related Midwest.
I'll start this by saying I hope it plays clearly. We've had those issues in the past. The audio should come through clearly. If not, all videos, as of probably right this moment, have been posted on YouTube, so are viewable again, but we think this will come through decently well.
North Lawndale, I believe, is going to be the next boom in the city of Chicago. And I'm especially proud of the fact that it's on Chicago's west side.
The time is now for us to execute these plans, but it's in a position where we can say, no longer will North Lawndale be ignored or forgotten. We're going to help empower the community so that we can do the things that we need to do.
I founded 548 Development with the sole mission to provide sustainable energy to low-income communities. And I'm proud to partner with Related Midwest, a storied major developer here in Chicago that's done projects for over 30 years. Our vision for this location is a 300,000 square foot solar power distribution facility that will include a 10,000 square foot community innovation center. This location will be a hub for economic development and small businesses to be empowered through freight, logistics, packaging, and delivery. One of the best pieces of this project is that it empowers minority-owned businesses at every single level, from design, construction, and professional services and finance. This type of project of inclusivity has yet to be seen in a major development in Chicago's history. Ware McComb and T&S Studio will provide design services. Millhouse and Engage Civil will provide engineering and construction services. Neil and Leroy will be our legal counsel. CS Strategies will provide risk management and insurance services. Millennium Solar will be our workforce training partner and install solar for the project. And Gold Leaf will provide financial services and consulting for the project. To truly be successful, you need the voices of the community. That's why we chose to partner with the North Lawndale Chamber of Commerce Leadership Group, led by Rodney Brown, as well as faith leaders like Pastor John Harrell of Proviso Baptist. Their leadership and their inclusion in this project allows us to get true data and information on what the community's needs really are. You need the resources of Related Midwest. You need the sustainability of 548, and you need the ground game of community partners like Rodney Brown and Pastor Harrell. That team is able to execute on this vision and bring this project to life in North Lawndale. You're gonna hear a lot of different proposals. Let me tell you about what separates us from the others. One, our commitment to inclusivity both at the construction level, but also the professional services level. The lawyers, the accountants, the design teams, etc. Second, our commitment to sustainable energy. This will be a rooftop solar project as well as LEED certified. Third, This project is financially viable. We ask for no new additional money from the city to make this project work. It actually works on its own. And lastly, our community space is 10,000 square feet. That's double and triple some of our competition.
Related Midwest is qualified to do this project because we bring the technical expertise that is necessary to develop this and to build it, to design it. We bring a commitment to making this project and any project we do an important part of a community's development. And we do it in a way that listens and hopefully addresses what the concerns of people are. So the combination of technical expertise and understanding of the needs that we can help address in a community.
This location will be an economic hub for small businesses to receive and ship packages, for businesses to expand into freight and distribution. It will be an opportunity for storage companies to expand their business operations, as well as e-commerce and supply chain businesses to expand and get their packages and products into the hands directly of consumers around the globe. This project is about empowering local businesses and local community leaders. What we want to do is give them an opportunity inside this project to expand their businesses and expand their visions for North Lawndale.
And what's different about this is that we are looking to truly make this a viable and lasting part of a community through our landscaping, through the Innovation Center, through the very way in which we are going to construct these buildings, how we are going to energize these buildings by utilizing solar power.
The Community Innovation Center is exactly that, the communities. It's the communities to decide what the vision is and how it will be executed upon. That's why we've partnered with Rodney Brown and Pastor Harrell to lead those community conversations on what this space is and could be. And so our intent is to empower the community by giving it these resources to execute on its own needs.
What we envision for this space is we're going to connect local business owners with each other. Part of what we talk about in our organization is how do we get the dollar in North Lawndale to circulate longer within North Lawndale. So if I got local business owners in a center, in a spot, talking to each other, determining how they can work together, figuring out how they can help each other to grow, that then puts us in a position where they can all say, here's how we're working together, here's what we're doing as a community.
Hire 360 will be integrated in this project as we identify emerging businesses in the North Lawndale community that would like to participate in this project but need some financial assistance.
Hire 360 is based on 4 pillars: workforce, business support and assistance, supply chain engagement, and youth education. What we want to try to achieve is to bring wealth back into a community, to create generational wealth in the years to come. Now, this project can help to do that, but what Hire 360 also believes is that through our support of small businesses from the community.
I believe a center like this is going to bring about education. And when you have education, it gives inspiration. And when you have inspiration, it gives what we all are looking for, and that's transformation, where lives are being changed and effective, and things are positive, productive, and progressive.
I need to say that if North Lawndale could have done this by themselves, it would have been done years ago. So we fully recognize that we need to engage partners outside of the community also to make sure that the plan we put in place is going to be executed.
I stand here knowing that Related Midwest has an impeccable record of finishing what it starts, of doing what we say we are going to do. I look forward to doing that with Rodney Brown, with Pastor Harrell, and with AJ, and most importantly, with the residents of the community of North Lawndale.
This location is the gateway to the North Lawndale community, and this site needs long-term thinking and strategy.
We're here today to sound the clarion alarm that change has not only is on the horizon, but change is right here, change is right now, and we're going to effectively change the mindsets of these people in North Lawndale with this magnificent project that is going to be on the corner of Kostner and Roosevelt.
Okay. Thank you. 548. And the first question that we have is, how do you protect current generational stakeholders, so home and landowners, from raising taxes as the new development causes property values and taxes to rise? So can taxes be frozen within a 3 to 7 mile radius for the next 15 to 30 years, or until generational stakeholder sells?
Just doing an audio check. Claudette, can you hear me clearly?
I can.
You can? Okay,
Yes.
great. And so the question was around, can we confirm that property taxes for folks that have been multi-generational residents within a certain radius, that their taxes will be frozen, that when this project is completed, that their taxes will not go up? Am I hearing that correctly?
That is correct. Within a 3 to 7 mile radius.
3 to 7 mile radius.
So how do you protect generational wealth?
Absolutely. We're not going to be able to control property taxes. I think that's going to be something that's going to need to include the alderman and city hall and the mayor's office in terms of that strategy. We're not going to be able to, influence anyone else's property taxes on such a project. That's going to be out of our sphere of influence.
Claudette, if I could add to that, ever since we started NOCCC, we put together our quality of life plan. We understood that was going to be a concern. So we've been having those discussions. And as AJ's pointed out, we'll need to talk to elected officials and others in terms of how we do that. But that is a concern that we've been aware of and that we've been addressing.
Okay. I'm sorry, that question was from Sean Bowler. The next question is from Sarah Heyman. Is the pitch primarily for a distribution center with solar panels on top?
Yes, and a little bit more. And I just want to head, audio still good?
Yes, your audio is fine.
Perfect, thank you. So yes, it's not just distribution, it's also a community innovation center. So there will be approximately 300,000 square feet of distribution, as well as 10,000 square feet of community space.
Okay. From Stephen Stoltz, how would the project impact the residential development of the area?
So a couple of things. One, our intent is that it will attract other businesses to come to the neighborhood. We're approximating about 500 jobs will be able to be influenced through this project. That's 500 permanent jobs. I think it's over 700 when you include construction jobs. So our intent with the project is that it will be a catalyst, a part of many projects in the community. Distribution is now, this is now the future of how business will be done. There's not going to be a host of brick and mortar retail. So this will be the next economic wave that our communities need to have. And so this, for our intent, the largest bang for our buck in terms of economics and job impact was to do a distribution center.
Okay. A question to Related Midwest is, are some of your minority partners from the past projects, are they members of this team currently? And if not, why not?
Thank you for that question. So there are members of this team that are some of our that we have worked with. Engaged Civil, who AJ mentioned on the professional services side. We have also been involved and had Millhouse on some of our projects. It would be our intention to follow much of the same course in selection of minority partners as we move into construction. And select that particular contractor or contractors. We have been a lead in advocating for and utilizing minority general contractors as prime general contractors. We think that is critically important. And along with that, bringing the subcontractors in the vendor base that have been a part of our projects, and it's a varied number. It is not the same people and the same businesses, but we have followed that course and that path for the last more than a decade in trying to
provide opportunities for businesses from throughout the city as part of our projects.
This is from Charmaine Hendricks Miller. What is the projected timeline to build the center from start to finish?
I think our projected completion date is early 2023. I think the mayor has been, and the commissioners group has been pretty clear that we'd like to fast track getting everything started. So I think the hope is to start the environmental piece in maybe the fall. I think that's a little bit aggressive, but I think we can try to track that direction. So maybe end of year, starting the environmental process and site preparation, and then kind of making a run at it from there. And then with the completion target date of early 2023.
Okay. What will be your goal of numbers of people to hire that live in the community?
That's a great question. Our intent is to ask any leasee to prioritize the North Lawndale community as a part of our engagement moving forward. We're prioritizing North Lawndale contractors. That was a part of our work group in terms of our engagement with Mr. Brown and Pastor Harrell in finding those contractors and so forth to not just participate in the project on a execution level, but on an ongoing level as we manage the property, as we lease the property, et cetera.
Okay. To 548, and this is from Clyn Jones. Though you cannot control taxes, are you committed to putting significant financial support behind lobbying efforts with the goal of keeping taxes low for multi-generational owners who otherwise may be affected by your development?
Sure. We're 548's consistent track record is to be great community partners. So if that is the feedback that we receive from our community engagement process, the short answer is yeah. If it's feasible. The politics behind it may be a little bit more complex, but the short answer is, of course. I mean, if that's the outcome that the community would receive, of course, we'd be an advocate on those fronts.
Okay. And from E. Bernard Jennings, are you willing to use local industrial companies to meet some of your build-out needs?
Absolutely.
Okay. There's a question from Alexis Murphy. Can you say more about some of your other professional partners?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm hogging the mic today, but a couple of them. Let me talk. We've got Millhouse, who's going to provide construction services. The minority-owned engineering firm, obviously Engaged Civil, that will do the civil work. Secondarily, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is not just the construction, but the professional services piece. So we're putting minority attorneys with Langdon Neal. Charles Smith will be the insurance broker on this project. He's a West Side native. We're bringing in Millennium Solar to install the solar, and he will do the workforce training so that we get folks from North Lawndale to actually install the solar here. Also the financial piece. So one of the things I want to push back on is inclusivity is not just construction. This is a big project. We should be inclusive at every level. And so we picked those partners intentionally to showcase that not just the stuff of the people, swinging the hammers, but everything else in the supply chain and the execution of this project needs to be inclusive. So we picked those partners on the front end. And so that it matters to be inclusive in those things as well.
Okay. From Nikki Tate. You mentioned that 500 individuals will be employed. Will that consist of a mix of current residents, or does it include individuals moving to the area that are relocating to the new?
The short answer is all the above. I mean, this is going to be it's a big project where it's going to be a lot of new businesses coming in, leasing up the space, utilizing it. So the short answer is going to be all the above. We're going to try to prioritize as much local hiring as possible with those businesses. But simultaneously, obviously, you're going to need to bring some outside professionals in as well.
Okay, and from Jazz Ellison, related to jobs, will the jobs be offered to felons or persons with a background?
Absolutely.
Okay. How many, from Anthony Bass, how many jobs are permanent And what will be the requirements? Is there any job training?
500 permanent jobs is what we're projecting. And a part of our process that we've turned into the city is that there will be job training on the solar portion. We already have that training program in place, and we'll be prioritizing North Lawndale residents for that program.
Okay. And from Noel Curtis, related to the solar panel, is will the solar panel surplus help the homeowners within a 5-mile radius? And is there support for those property owners to convert to solar energy?
There we go. Yes, absolutely. So we still have to do the final analysis on what additional energy we're going to be able to create to then to be able to do a community solar project with any additional energy. But the short answer is yes. Our intent is any additional energy that we can create, we will sell to the community as into the local network as a community solar project. Absolutely.
Okay. From Nikki Tate, will you consider second choice hiring?
Second choice hiring? Is that what she said?
Yes. Yes. Will you consider second choice hiring? So for the person, do you need clarity around the question?
Please.
So for the person who's asking the question, Ms. Tate, will you unmute yourself and say what you mean here?
It may take a second to sort out unmuting.
Hello.
But,
Hi.
okay.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so the first question that I had was kind of structured. I don't know if they understood that question. Can I?
Ms. Tate, let's focus at this question, and then we will, if you'll restate your other question. So,
okay, so this one here was answered. It was kind of, I didn't know that, I didn't see the other question where they were asking if they were going to hire individuals with backgrounds. So this was a second chance question. So it should have said second chance, not second choice.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Okay. Okay. And if time allows, we will get to your question where you want further clarity. So
and Ms. Tate, thank you for your question, and the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. For 548, have you ever completed a project? What's your track record? And will Relate be doing all the work and majority owner? I'm not sure about the second part of the question. So we may need some clarity from Mr. Bill Williams, who's asking this question. But the first part of his question is, have you ever completed a project, and what's your track record?
Okay, absolutely. So I've been in the industry for at least 12. Well, I guess this is year 13. I've been an executive for other companies and then started my own and done everything from apartment complexes, ski resorts, redevelopment of a private island. We do mixed-use projects all throughout the city now. We've got stuff in North Lawndale currently under construction. We also have stuff on the south side as well that we're currently developing and have completed. So absolutely, been in the industry for, I guess, for 12, 13 years, and have done stuff for some time.
So I think the second part of this question is, and Mr. Williams, if I'm not capturing it correctly, please chime in. I believe the question is, will Related Midwest be doing all the work, and are they the majority owner?
Will they be doing all the work? No. No, no, and we absolutely agreed to a joint venture, and that influence is, my influence is pretty well shown in our ability to every single decision I've been making or part of making and so forth. So that's absolutely, we agreed to a joint venture. Yes.
Will there be air quality monitors as a part of your project? And will it be in writing that the jobs at the distribution center will be union and have a living wage?
That's a good question. Let me note both those questions. I think we should circle back on those.
I would agree. I think those are valuable questions, but let us circle back and get an answer for those.
Okay. That's from an anonymous attendee. From Anthony Bass, for your hiring, how will you ensure lease and will hire locally? When you say priority local hiring and leasing, how will you ensure your lease and hire locally?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're going to prioritize is our property management group and who we have do the leasing of the building, that's a part of those conversations and those negotiations, is that whoever we bring in prioritizes the local community and their hiring strategy. So that's going to be an important piece of the deal up and down the board.
Okay. From Stephen Stoltz, what will the community actually own when the project is completed? And what are your thoughts about how to keep housing affordable in the surrounding area?
Yeah, so they will the actual 10,000 square feet will be the community. So that will be a part of our community engagement process, working with folks like Pastor Harrell and Black Men United and Rodney Brown and their team to confirm what exactly the city would like in that 10,000 square foot, and that will be their space entirely. That will be a donation to the community, that 10,000 square feet. So that will be for not for us to decide or to dictate. That we're going to relinquish that and put that directly into the hands of the community.
Okay. We have time for a few more. From Bill Williams, is that both of your companies said something about how you mentioned tactics, but what about your real strategy?
I didn't.
Can you say that again? I didn't catch it.
You mentioned tactics, but what about your real strategy? Mr. Williams, can you clarify? It may take a moment. We will move on. We will know if he's able to. What's your connection to North Lawndale?
Connection to North Lawndale. Already investing and developing in the neighborhood. I have a vested interest in the success and the growth of the community. I, been around and invested in it and participated and worshipped and done everything over there for years. So care a lot. And so I already have projects over there and have done hiring in those communities already, and have community partners like Pastor Harrell and Rodney Brown to partner with and help us execute and deepen those ties to the neighborhood.
And from Charmaine Hendricks Miller, will your employment target management jobs as well, and at what percentage?
Would it target management jobs as well, and what percent?
What?
So I would say this, that we think management jobs and opportunities for those are important to the extent that we can control those. So if we're talking about those that are leasing the property, we would certainly encourage that, and we would want to be doing that by continuing to work with our community partners to make those opportunities available. I think we are always open at related in terms of construction and trying to open those opportunities, whether it be in the project management or whether it be in the trades that may be involved, to also make those spots available. So we are very much aware of the need to do that, and we, to the extent that we can, we will absolutely focus on that.
Okay. And this is our last question that we can ask in this segment. And this is from Bernard Jennings. Are you using any city, county, state, or federal programs, incentives on this project? And if so, which ones are you using?
We're asking for no additional resources in terms of tax credits, no new TIF. There's already a pre-existing TIF that's there. We are planning to utilize some of that for infrastructure and environmental needs. The alderman prefaced that there are some site concerns there, and so we'd want to leverage those current resources. But we ask for no new additional money on top of that.
Okay. So thank you. There are several questions that are remaining that DPD will get to you and that you can respond to, that they will share with the group. So thank you to 548 Development and Related Midwest. We will move on to our next presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Sure. So now we will have the presentation from Lawndale United.
Hello, my name is Hugh Williams, principal with MK Asset Management, and I'm one of the co-captains, as it were, for the Lawndale United team here. And we're just very thankful to have an opportunity to pitch this site. So Mayor Lightfoot, Commissioner Cox, thank you for being a driving force behind transforming the city of Chicago. Additionally, Alderman Scott and the greater Lawndale community at large, thank you for your willingness to engage in a meaningful dialogue about a gateway site to your community. James Baldwin said that I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. And, you know, this site gives us an opportunity to say something great and do something great, and which is what we hope to get a chance to do. So thanks again. So quickly about our team, MK Asset Management. We have a long and successful history of industrial development in the city of Chicago and the surrounding communities. We're a diverse group with real estate holdings across multifamily, office, industrial. Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives is a nonprofit that has spearheaded transformative, collaborative redevelopment projects in neighborhoods like Pullman, Bronzeville, and Inglewood. Have done some fantastic things. Eastlake is a Black-owned development company with decades of experience redeveloping Chicago neighborhoods. The design team, Mike Baumstark, who I've known a long time, is a seasoned industrial architect, and he's going to be working with Roderick Ardmore, a Black-owned engineering firm. Construction, Burling Builders, which is also a Black-owned contracting firm, committed to high levels of MBE contracting and local hiring. And finally, most importantly, our local Lawndale-based community partner is Black Men United, a community organization committed to economic inclusion and empowerment in Lawndale. You know, this team reflects the city's goal to leverage inclusive collaborative real estate development to create economic improvement in neighborhoods through job creation, business development. And our team is led by Black-owned businesses and nonprofits with an established track record of community-based development.
In terms of local wealth building and ownership, our proposal will create 320 construction jobs. Our team is partnering with Trino, a diversity and inclusion consulting firm, to ensure community representation on both the construction contracting and construction workforce through robust local MBE and WBE participation. Black Men United is a foundational member of our team. We'll work closely with Black Men United, CETA, and Westside American Job Center to create a neighborhood pipeline and training program for the 255 permanent jobs our development will create. In addition to creating construction and permanent jobs, our team is eager to support smaller businesses that would like to co-locate on the site. We're setting aside 32,000 square feet for growing businesses. By making these spaces affordable, we're enabling growing businesses to expand and benefit from proximity to larger, more established businesses. Our proposal promotes long-term wealth building. Our team will offer below market rent and microfinancing to local minority-owned businesses to provide access to capital and help small businesses build capacity on our site.
My name is Tyler Holland with Lawndale United, and I will be addressing our team's professional and technical competence in order to accomplish the goals of the community in the city of Chicago. Our proposal centers around the creation of a systematic approach to community collaboration and economic development. Our why is clear, wealth creation and equitable economics. We are promoting short and long-term job opportunities and support for small businesses, equitable control for local community as well as MBE partners throughout ownership, development, design, construction, leasing, and property management. And we truly have a commitment to community collaboration in our partnership with Black Men United and MBE participation throughout the project. Both Eastlake and Chicago neighborhood initiatives have long histories in community development to be able to execute on this why. So what are we doing? In order to maximize the value to the community and the city, our proposal is based on the highest and best use of this site, which is industrial. 331,000 square feet of industrial is designed in a manner that focuses on accomplishing the design excellence goals outlined in the RFP to truly create a state-of-the-art industrial development in the Lawndale community. Workforce training and multi-user spaces are oriented on Roosevelt. Our design minimizes truck traffic and parking and creates buffers for the surrounding residential neighborhood. And our proposal creates open, usable green space that can complement the rails and trails corridor along the CSX rail line. So how are we going to accomplish all of this? We've created a plan that is financially feasible and positions the local community and businesses to be successful. We are proposing to purchase the land from the city of Chicago for approximately $6.5 million, which can be accomplished due to the high demand for the industrial use on this site and the creative use of city incentives. The project is $45 million that's structured in two phases. The first is site prep, environmental, and the infrastructure development, and the second phase of the project is vertical construction. The majority of the project will be funded by private equity as well as private debt. We are requesting $12.5 million in city incentives, or 25% of the overall budget, which includes $10 million in TIF to complete the initial site prep, environmental, and infrastructure development, and a write-down of the purchase price of the land by $2.5 million. With these incentives, we can provide affordable spaces for local businesses long-term, and in the community training and hiring initiatives to accomplish our why that we've highlighted before. While our proposal does not include as much commercial, retail, or flex space within the program, the $6.5 million purchase price paid to the city of Chicago can be utilized to further economic development within the North Lawndale community in areas of focus such as Ogden Avenue for residential and commercial. In closing, we are extremely excited about this opportunity and potential to utilize economic development to support the community revitalization efforts within Lawndale and job creation. We thank the City of Chicago and the Mayor's Office, Alderman Scott, and the community for allowing us to present today. Thank you, and we'll open it up for questions.
Claudette, you're on mute.
This question is from Lauren Lewis. How will North Lawndale's youth be engaged in the project?
How will North Lawndale's youth be engaged in the project?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, perfectly. And, I think that, first of all, everyone in the community is going to be engaged in this project. We've got a segment of the site, over 10% of the project dedicated toward working with local and small businesses in North Lawndale, and also through our partners. Sierra, I don't know if there's anything, David, you guys want to add as it relates to that, but.
Sure, I'd like to chime in on the jobs piece. One of the biggest components of this is the jobs that will be created for this. And oftentimes when you hear large scale industrial projects, you think of the adults, but we want to focus on youth and adult hiring for this. And so our local workforce partners will focus both on the youth side, but also displaced workers and adults. So there's an opportunity to make sure that our youth are engaged early for long-term work opportunities on the site.
From Carl Ellis, is there a major company anchoring this project?
Well, we've had preliminary conversations with a big freezer cooler, a company in the freezer cooler space that is interested in the site. But as of today, there's no long-term. I mean, there's no immediate anchor. But our anticipation is that there will be, just based on the metrics of the area and what's going on industrially around the country and in the city in particular. So that's our goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hugh, I'd like to add something. I think that, obviously there's an open bid. I think that we, are very confident in our ability to lease, this space to a user that can really maximize the value for the site. But I think, we would be remiss if we didn't speak a little bit about the fact that we've set aside space for multi-user space, for local community businesses. And I think that, by having a large anchor that can really, drive the economics, and with the city incentives that we've, requested from the city of Chicago, I think the spaces that are most important is how can we maximize this for the community. So, I think that's an important part of our proposal, of which we were thoughtful about.
The next two questions I'll combine because they're from the same person, but different topics. From Nikki Tate, where is your corporate office? And of the 320 employees that you will hire, what percentage will include your current employees, if applicable?
Where is
your corporate office?
Well, my corporate office is in Des Plaines, but I spend a lot of time in my basement these days. But Tyler's in the city, Sierra's in the city, David's in the city, so we're all here in the city of Chicago. And what was the follow-up question? I'm sorry.
Of the 320 employees to be hired, what percentage will include your current employees, if applicable?
Yeah, so the 320 employees reference the construction workforce. And so our goal for both the construction and the permanent workforce is to prioritize North Lawndale residents. And so it won't include our employees at all. We'll want to focus on local hiring. And we have teams involved and engaged to make sure that our workforce, both on the construction side and the permanent workforce side, truly reflect the North Lawndale community.
From Chelsea Ridley, what types of small businesses are you targeting or hoping to come into the space?
Sure. I mean, so a little bit about my background. I'm an industrial broker by trade. And so of all the groups here, I actually work with industrial users, represent them around the country, in addition to what we do on the development side. And I would say that for us, our focus on the small user side, we have a fair amount of space that you could classify as incubator type space. But our focus will be on, when your market, you start in your current location is ground zero, and then you radiate from there, right? So there are plenty of companies on the service side, on the contracting side, that would be great candidates to be small space users. And then also keep in mind that there are a lot of national companies who need to be relatively close to the city, who have relatively small footprints, that would be ideal candidates for the site as well. We're not building just a big giant box. We're trying to appeal to a good variety of users, and we want to focus on North Lawndale. So that, I hope that
I can add to that, Hugh. I think what we've seen is there's a lot of small businesses in the North Lawndale community, supply companies, medical supply companies. There's janitorial companies. There's a lot of companies that need space to be able to operate out of, and I think offering that space at a discounted rate. And as Sierra mentioned, we also do small business lending. So we would be bringing our micro lending capacity to the neighborhood and offering small businesses opportunities to access capital. So it could be business expansion, it could be startup, but the idea is that 30,000 square feet of the project would be dedicated to those small businesses and the ability to both grow their business, develop generational wealth, and create employment opportunities for local residents.
Yeah. And then one thing I would add to that as well is, we've, allocated some dollars within our budget specifically for community training. So, for individual, workers and folks that are looking to develop skills to be able to work at a larger user's, facility. That's something that's also available that we've been thoughtful about to provide that training, during the initial construction and the initial site prep so that Lawndale residents are ready to be able to be competitive for those jobs and understand what the skills that are required. So I think that's another important piece of that as well. And I don't know if Sierra has anything to add to that.
So I want to remind our developers that your handoff to several of you in answering the question, unless it's new information, is taken away from the time that the community has to ask their questions. This deck is very long, filled with questions. So I just want you to be mindful of that, please, and thank you. The next question is, how many North Lawndale residents have you engaged in the planning process?
We have worked with a local community group that we're in the process of firming, reestablishing sort of our relationship with them. So there's no number that's attached to that, aside from, and we've talked to some folks that have been heavily invested in the community, but we don't have a number attached to that in terms of number of people we've spoken to.
From Chrislyn Freeman, who are the industrial tenants that have indicated an interest, and do they pay livable wages, benefits, background friendly, full-time or permanent positions?
Well, the answer to that is the group that we've talked to, we're under some level of confidentiality, but they're in the food distribution space, and their wages are competitive, and beyond that, they would be anyone that someone would be happy to have in the community, and so.
Okay. From Sean Bowler, is that if this is an e-com type fulfillment distribution center, when it's complete, how much community involvement interaction other than employment? There won't be much community. Well, the question is, there won't be much community involvement or interaction other than employment.
If our footprint for our two buildings, our three buildings are relatively small, don't necessarily lend themselves to e-commerce. They're more geared towards getting an advanced manufacturer or kind of a local heavy distribution type user. So it's not e-commerce. And we have a vested interest in making sure everyone in the community has an opportunity to participate in this. Independent of what I do on the development side, I own a small business that employs 15 women and minorities of our 16 employees. And this is just a very important thing to us. And we're always going to be focused on the community, and our design lends itself to more community-based users as opposed to a big macro distribution user.
Okay. How much of your team is composed of minorities? I think you just answered that. Could you restate it? How much of your team is?
I'm just going to throw a percentage out there. That's 75% of our team is composed of minorities.
Okay. Do any of your team members have ties to North Lawndale? And if so,
David, please.
Sorry, I can speak to that. Yeah, so I've been involved in the North Lawndale community for about the last 35 years. I lived in Lawndale for 10 years, been attending church there for 30 years, and I've been on the board of the Lawndale Christian Health Center for over 25 years.
Yeah. And I can add for Eastlake, Eastlake, has been in that community, pretty much the same time that, David has been, operating within that community as well, well over 30 years. We have roughly, 500 units throughout the community of North Lawndale. But, we, have very deep relationships with various businesses, individuals, pastors, and whatnot, of which we've provided opportunities for jobs, for snow removal, maintenance on our existing buildings, what have you. So we've been a very established partner, with the community of North Lawndale to build capacity, wealth creation, and provide opportunities.
Okay. From Ed Coleman, will local entrepreneurship be encouraged?
Yes, we are all entrepreneurs in this call, and part of what we want to do is build a community of entrepreneurs. So 100% we're behind local entrepreneurship. I mean, that's why we're doing this.
Okay. There's a statement here about Eastlake Management having the second largest number of eviction filings this year. So knowing that, how can Eastlake Management be trusted to be a good neighbor in North Lawndale?
So I appreciate the question. I don't necessarily know if that information is exactly accurate, but happy to, have a conversation with, that person offline. But I would say that our record speaks for itself to provide safe and quality living and standard of living for individuals, not just on the west side of Chicago, but the south side and throughout the city of Chicago. And, we've been in, this community long before, many of the other developers, within the city of Chicago to provide resources, provide, capacity, provide opportunities to take care of their families. So, would love to talk offline to understand, where that's coming from, but, I'm not familiar with that specific statistic.
Okay. That question was posed by it's anonymous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
Sure. How are you planning to handle, this is from E. Bernard Jennings, how are you planning to handle tractor trailer traffic to gain entrance exit to the warehouses?
Well, we'll work with our traffic consultants, but obviously we want to divert and keep traffic away from residential as much as possible. We're recognizing that Roosevelt is a strategic regional artery and Kostner is a very important road. So we're just going to have to be smart and, obviously work in a capacity to make it reasonable for everyone. But also, once again, because two of our buildings are for smaller type users, we do not anticipate a big macro heavy truck distribution corridor here based on our product mix.
Okay. From James Matankit, sorry if I've mispronounced your name, but are you asking the city for $3 million to do the project? And how he's coming up with that is that if you're paying the city $6.5 million, are you asking the city for $12 million and then asking the city for a $2.5 million write down on the land? So are you asking for $3 million to do the project?
Go ahead, Tyler.
Can you repeat the question? I had a bad connection there.
Sure. If you're paying the city $6.5 million, you're asking the city for $12 million, asking the city for a $2.5 million write down on the land, are you asking the city for $3 million to do the project?
So that's essentially how it works. I mean, yes, from a math perspective, I think that the reason why we've structured it that way essentially is because by having a two-piece financial structure where we've essentially financed the environmental, the site prep and infrastructure while the city owns it, allows us to maximize those dollars, of which we then can attract capital to be able to actually pay a purchase price in order to pay the city of Chicago for that land that's essentially ready to be developed. Yes, the net, that's the end result, but it specifically allows us to maximize dollars for the city, of which those funds can be utilized for additional development within the North Lawndale community. So thank you for repeating the question, just so I understood.
Sure. From Noel Curtis, what is the anticipated increase of traffic created by your company and the impact on local families' greenhouse gas exposure? So will you reduce or increase the carbon footprint in the community?
I don't have an answer as it relates to the increase in the carbon footprint in the community because we don't have, I guess, a current baseline study as to what, how that's going to relate. So I don't have an answer to that question. And as for traffic, I think we've discussed the traffic and the nature of the construction of our buildings, and that we don't anticipate it to be a heavy traffic based on the types of buildings that we're constructing there.
Okay. From Stephen Stoltz, what kind of industries will be drawn to the site?
Well, if you look down the street just to the west, Amazon's got some 600,000 square feet of distribution facilities there. Big box manufacturing company has a manufacturing facility there. So I would say components of companies like that, in addition to local sort of higher value companies in the smaller smaller buildings. I mean, we are going to canvas hard to attract strong users who are able to pay great wages and employ local residents.
Okay. From Nikki Tate, will small businesses receive a discounted rentals or tax credits since you're requesting TIF to build?
David, do you want to touch that?
Sure. Yeah, the answer is yes. We are proposing discounting rents for local businesses, and we would anticipate using a variety of different financing sources, including some of our own small business lending capital and other tax incentives that might be available.
Yeah. So Class 6B is an option. It's in an opportunity zone as well, new market tax credits. Because of the unique nature of the site, there's a lot of opportunities for creating discounts for space.
Okay. From Eric Lindsay, how can you leverage your background working with industrial companies to partner and hire from the community?
Sure, why don't I take that? So CNI has deep experience working with industrial users in Pullman in particular. And one way that we've leveraged our experience and track record is partnering with local workforce partners. So for example, we worked on Method, Gotham, Whole Foods Distribution Center. For each one of those projects, we partnered with a local workforce developer that creates a pipeline, does some on-the-job training using different training dollars that they have available to them, and then transfers that pipeline to the end user for interviews. And so we found that to be very successful, particularly around hiring locally. Those end users don't have to search for their own workforce. We're able to hand them a trained, ready to go workforce that represents the community. It served us well. We've created nearly 2,000 jobs, and many of those jobs went to local residents. And so we'll adopt that same strategy, that best practice, and use it for the Lawndale United development.
From MM, how will you engage youth in training for the industrial sector employment? And how will your team ensure that this development will create community wealth?
Yeah, so again, I can't stress enough the importance of local workforce partners. You may have seen on our list, we have CETA as one of our partners. And one thing that we didn't talk a whole lot about is we would like to really lean on CETA for their weatherization training program. It's an opportunity to provide a different type of jobs for youth and community residents. In addition to their weatherization program, you may have seen Westside American Job Center. They have a youth service program. And so while we focus heavily on adults needing permanent jobs, we recognize the importance of engaging our youth early and setting them up for gainful employment. And so we want to engage our local workforce partners to make sure that we create a pipeline of youth that can be hired on our projects as well.
And from Bill Williams, do you have any LOIs from potential partners who would be your target? And if it's larger firms, do you have any commitments to North Lawndale, to the hood?
Yeah, we got a letter of interest from a user that is it's a distribution related user, but high value jobs in the freezer cooler community in the food distribution space.
Okay. Are there any plans to create a designated incubation space for North Lawndale youth, or a community-oriented space that supports the youth and their endeavors?
David, you want to?
Yes. So in addition to the 30,000 we're setting aside for small businesses, we are allocating 4,000 square feet for job training and community purposes within the building. And so there will be opportunities for job training on site that we will, as Sierra mentioned, work with local job training organizations to actually provide the training, but we will be making that space available.
What type of permanent jobs will you create?
Good ones. I don't know how to really answer that question. Aside from we again think that we're going to be able to create some high value jobs, and it's really important for us to get folks in the community involved in that process. And that's what we can promise is those are the types of companies that we're going to try to attract, companies that are willing to invest in the community and willing to help train folks and give people quality opportunities.
Okay, and we've got time for, I've got 2 questions and there's still questions in the queue, but we only have time for
Sure.
2 more. And that is from Chrislyn Freeman. Does CNI plan to be on site to offer technical assistance to businesses in the space?
I think
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, Dave.
No,
I was going to say part of our lending is technical assistance. There's never a borrower that just gets funds. We provide wraparound services. Our borrowers are our family. We recognize the importance of helping our small businesses not just survive, but how do we help them to thrive? And so we know access to capital is one, but also providing technical assistance to make sure that we're removing barriers for them to become more successful is absolutely necessary. And so partnering with CNI, not only do you get funding, but you get access to a huge Rolodex, if you will, of other technical assistance partners that helps our borrowers, our entrepreneurs become even more successful.
Okay. And lastly, from Bill Williams, how does this project connect and invite the community into the space? What are your plans for reaching into the community at large? And does it include some housing inventory in the blighted outskirts?
You know, there's a lot to that question. And let me just say this. I played football in college, and I'm a big fan of the ground game. And what that means is I think you take a look at our team, and everyone on our team has gone door to door and and knows how to do it. And that's how you build a coalition in a community. I mean, we've just got to roll up our sleeves and the themes thematically with the questions that have been asked tonight, which have all been tremendous questions, been about youth, entrepreneurship, and staying connected to the community. And I just think that that's kind of what our team is about. And I know that wasn't an answer to the question, but that was a big question. But we're excited about this opportunity, and we would love to be a part of North Lawndale.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to answer that question in more detail offline. I know we've got time constraints, so.
Okay. And there are several other questions pending that DPD will get with you so that the roundtable can have answers to their questions. So we want to say thank you to Lawndale United, and we will move on to our next developer, who is Cubs Charities and Pritzker Realty.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see here? I see dreams. For me, in rain, snow, or sun, it was always baseball. As soon as it was warm enough, I'd be out at Franklin Park taking grounders from Uncle Charles. Don't get it twisted though, I can handle the cold. But man, that frostbite's faster when you're trying to lay down a bunt outside with a metal bat in March. Why can't we have a state-of-the-art indoor training facility like they do in the suburbs? Never in our hood. That would have been a game changer for me and my teammates. I'm talking top of the line facilities, complete with offices, meeting rooms, and everything, open 365. It would have been nice to have a place to study without the noise, just quiet. Really, the entire neighborhood could have used the extra space and resources. The seniors from the community would have loved the spot to meet and fellowship watching the youth play ball. Growing up, it was hard to find a place where you could just be a kid and your parents didn't have to worry. We could have met up at the cafe to study after school, you know? So everyone could just be together and chill. Who am I kidding? I didn't have time to hang out. It was all baseball. Back then, I was building up my confidence and my skinny arms. I really would have loved a state-of-the-art weight room and batting cages. Anybody can learn to catch and throw, but if you blink at a 90-mile-an-hour missile, you're done. That takes practice. Talk about practice. Nobody could touch me in agility drills. Those were the days. And with a place like this, they could have only been better. These days, I know that health and fitness isn't just for athletes. Everybody in the community needs to make it a priority. We must treat our bodies like temples. Health is about more than movement too. Food is health and wellness. If I had a place to learn about nutrition, I could share that knowledge with my family and friends. With this new community garden, we can grow our own basil, carrots, and sunflowers right here, practically in our own front yard. It would be so nice to have more classes and resources like that in our own community, especially because I have a future all-star on the way. I can't wait to bring her out here to enjoy the park. My wife could use the daddy-daughter time to paint. Maybe she could make a mural right over here. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I want to see this community thrive. This is a neighborhood of strength. Did you know that North Lawndale was once home to more than 55,000 jobs just between International Harvester and Western Electric? Jobs led to more jobs, vitality, restaurants, stores, banks, theaters. It's exactly what we're hungering for today. An economic spark, job creation, collaboration. All for the community with the community. Chicago is a phoenix and North Lawndale is rising. We've learned from what came before our fires and built a home together. That's what we want to build with the people of North Lawndale, a place we can all call home. So, tell me, what do you see here? All this ice will melt into the earth and spring will come back. It always does. And in Chicago, what blooms in the springtime? Plants, possibilities, and baseball.
Okay. Thank you to Cubs Charities. There's just a comment just in general about hearing the word hood over and over again, and that it seems a bit odd to be pondering in that way. So it's just a thought to put out to the group. The question to Cubs Charity is, why is the permanent job opportunity so low at 8 to 10?
Hi, this is Hello?
Yep.
Yes.
We hear you.
Okay, sorry, I just got a different screen. It's actually 8 to 10 permanent jobs, full-time jobs, and then we anticipated that we would need about another 10 part-time jobs and around 80 to 90 contractual positions.
Okay. There's a comment from Marcia Delaney. In general, that this is amazing, a tangible idea on how to engage the community from day one. something we don't have to find a use for, like an empty industrial building. Bravo. A question from Charmaine Hendricks Miller. Why not invest in the community park districts? There are 3 major parks that's in the area that could use some sprucing up.
We have a long-standing partnership with the Chicago Park District. In fact, we have invested in the Franklin Park just recently, but over the last 10 years, we've invested $40 million across the city in different neighborhoods, much of which has gone to our Diamond Project efforts, which are capital program and equipment investments all across the city with the Park District.
Okay. From Stephen Stoltz, how will youth from lower and poverty income families afford to use the facilities?
So much like all of our programs at Cubs Charities, they are free to our participants. We intend to continue to make this a free program for all of the participants that come to our community center.
Okay. I don't see any more questions, but let me scroll to see if any hands are raised.
There's a top question that's actually more for the city. Yes, all videos are now posted on YouTube, and we will be sending out an email with a lot of additional or a lot of next step information after this meeting.
Okay. There are some additional questions from Sarah Heyman. Is it safe to play sports and go for a jog around truck traffic and the bad air quality that comes with it?
Well, I think that one of the things that we intend with this project is to beautify the space. There will be an indoor track in the actual facility, as well as an outdoor track on the perimeter of the fields. I don't know if any of the architects wanted to answer anything else from an architectural standpoint.
Hi, sure. There's something to be said about building a facility like this in the middle of a fairly heavily industrial area and having to mitigate the issues for truck traffic and air quality. But this facility by itself will do a great deal for that mitigation. The field will be clean. 11 acres of this site will become an oasis, so to speak. And I think the air quality there will certainly be mitigated from the industrial properties all around.
Okay. From Anthony Bass, how much money has the Cubs invested in black parks on the south and west side?
And just for clarification, my name is not Carrie Blackwell, it's Alicia Gonzalez. So I think there's a mix up here in the how it appears. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
How much money has the Cubs invested on the south and west sides?
Carrie, do you want to give the
parks? I think is what it said.
I'm sorry, what?
How many parks have you built on the south and west sides?
Carrie, do you have the specific answer to that?
2014, we've been investing in a program called the Diamond Project, which is specifically designed to support the renovation of parks across the city in the central and south regions, and that's defined by the park district itself. We've invested, excuse me, in the central region, we've invested about 1.5 million, in the south region about 2.3 across the total, and over the length of our program itself, it's been about 9 million total. So I would say roughly about 50% in those two regions.
And that's specifically Diamond Project, whereas we also have other investments across the city for nonprofit organizations that are outside of baseball and softball.
Okay, we'll combine these two from Bernard Jennings and Sharia Washington. Are you using any city, county, state, or federal programs, incentives for this project? And are you seeking funding from the city? Are you using any or are you seeking any?
I'll let Pritzker answer, but on the Cubs charity side, as of right now, we are not seeking any funds from the city. We anticipate that it'll be $2 million that we want to invest for the remediation of the soil. If it goes beyond that, Cubs Charities is a nonprofit that we might have to seek funding, but again, as of right now, we are not anticipating that.
On behalf of the Pritzker Group, we've done some soil and site investigations in the site prep. So to answer the question specifically, we won't be asking for any public assistance with the development of our site. So I think it's critical to note that between both projects, we are not asking for any TIF funds to get going on the project. So essentially, we will take the funds we're prepared to put into a account with the city to use those dollars to clean and prep both sites. So any tax dollars generated from our project and from the Cubs Charities project are dollars that would stay within the TIF district.
Okay. From Clint Jones, how many of your team members directly involved in this project are minorities?
If that was directed towards the Pritzker Realty Group folks, our team is actually already engaged with a couple of different groups that are currently in North Lawndale. Abco Electric is an electrical contractor adjacent to the site over on the Kildare side, and we've known them for years and used them on many projects. As well as there's a company called the Will Group that just relocated their operation to a brand new 60,000 square foot facility about 500 yards to the north and west of this site, but in North Lawndale, and they're currently moving their lighting manufacturing group into that facility. So we are engaging with folks that are already there.
On the Cubs charity side, good evening. My name is Julian Green. I'm the Vice President of Community Affairs and Communications for the Chicago Cubs, and happy to join this group this evening. I am one of the minorities that would be involved in the project. Been with the Cubs for about 10 seasons. I do want to emphasize that as part of this project, we have a preference to ensure that it is a minority general contractor to build it, with utilizing minority and women-owned subcontractors as part of the project management team. We also want to make sure that the building, the facility itself, the workforce is also diverse, and making sure that we're providing opportunities, especially for individuals who are in the community, laborers who are looking for work. One of the things that I was responsible for during my tenure at the Chicago Cubs was overseeing our diversity construction program at Wrigley Field, the 1060 project, where I oversaw a program that awarded nearly $100 million to minority and women business contracts, which was voluntary. We did not have public fund from the city. That program was voluntary, and it was important to our ownership that that project represented the communities where we work and live. And so obviously we want to take that type of approach, even though it's a much smaller project, to ensure that there's diverse participation, not only in the construction of it, but also with the workforce.
Thank you. An anonymous attendee wants to know, why are the Pritzkers and Ricketts now interested in this land when you've had the physical solvency to develop the land years ago?
Do you want to go first, Alicia, or me?
Yeah, we can go. I can go first, and Teresa can jump in here. But just over the course of the last several years, Cubs Charities has been implementing programs across the city with neighborhood organizations, and it has been recognized that there are not enough indoor facilities to house sport for youth development across the city. And as there's been more concentration on the power of sport to help with youth development, to help with healing from trauma, we have been trying to figure out a way in which we could build our own facility. There are 9 other MLB teams across the country that have built academies in their respective cities. And in 2018, we visited these academies across the country and then continued the conversation to figure out whether or not we were going to pursue a Cubs Academy in Chicago. And we hired Teresa Prim of Prim Lawrence Group, who is part of our team, and she can speak more about the feasibility. But we engaged her in a feasibility study in late summer of 2019. And I don't know, Teresa, if you want to add on more to that of what you discovered during your feasibility study.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. And to Alicia's point, I was retained.
Just a moment, Ms. Prim. So before you all proceed, just know that we have real limited time.
Okay.
So please keep
Sorry.
it succinct. Thank you.
Okay. So Prim Lawrence Group was retained to actually do a feasibility study to look at the feasibility of creating an urban youth academy in Chicago. And part of that feasibility study also was to identify a site. And the Cubs Charities wanted to prioritize the west side of Chicago. So out of that feasibility study, which was actually done in the fall of 2019, this particular site was identified. We worked with and contacted the city and other local individuals about the particular site, and it was lifted up as a site. So we're glad that the RFP came out, but we actually were, if the question is about why this site was lifted up through a feasibility study process. We needed at least 11 to 12 acres, and so this site was perfect.
Thank you.
And Claudette, really the same response from the Pritzker Realty Group team. We've been looking at this site for a number of years, saw when it went under contract with the last developer. And we also were looking at the property prior to the RFP coming out, and then, came together with the Cubs to try and bring together two real projects here, right? We've got the social impact of the Cubs Charities project, along with the economic impact of the Pritzker Realty Group project.
Okay. Thank you. This question is from Noelle Curtis. She makes a comment that the space is large and beautiful for the community to be active. Her question is, how will it impact summer school and the community families?
That's a great question. The intention of the building is to be able to house local school groups and other community-based organizations that are focused around youth. We obviously, the summertime is our biggest season. We expect that the facility and all the surrounding fields will be occupied at all times, but I'll obviously given preference to all the North Lawndale youth and school groups.
How will this project bring economics to Lawndale? There's a comment about not offering enough jobs.
I can take a shot at that coming out, Alicia. You'll see similar numbers to our construction jobs as some of the other folks that have presented. We're anticipating roughly 300 construction jobs. In terms of the permanent hires, it's difficult to project. We don't have a tenant or a company in tow with us today. We just believe in the area, believe in the community, believe in the expressway access and proximity to the city, that we will be successful bringing in a modern company. It may be pure distribution. It could be manufacturing, whether light or more intricate. But from the industrial side, again, we anticipate, depending if we were to go with a dry warehouse or a refrigerated warehouse, the taxes our project could generate over a 10-year horizon be between $3 and $6 million. Again, since we're not asking for TIF funds, those dollars stay directly within the TIF district and for the community's use.
Have North Lawndale community members been consulted on this proposal?
So when we were doing the feasibility study, the first phase of the study, one was to identify land. Two was the Urban Youth Academy, and is an existing positive sports-based youth development model. So we consulted and talked to these programs all over the country. We talked to local coaches who are currently working with youth in the North Lawndale area and surrounding area. And one of the things that we discovered is that, in fact, there were probably the fewest number of baseball teams directly in North Lawndale. And so that was one of the reasons that we thought it was also a potential site. So we did talk to some local stakeholders, Better Boys Foundation, some of the local coaches that do play in that area, the Chicago Police League, et cetera. But the next phase of the process was to engage, to go to the community engagement level. And literally, as we completed the first phase of the feasibility report and turned it in, then there began the pandemic.
From Michael Cummings, will large volume parking be a part of this space, and how will public safety be managed and deployed?
So we intend to work with the community and work with the city on parking. We do have a parking lot, and Pritzker Realty Group has theirs, which they have offered during the off hours to lend some of those parking spots to us on busy occasions. But we definitely will be working with the community to ensure that the hours of operation and parking and traffic management is reasonable, and that we're obviously giving priority to the residents around the neighborhood.
Okay, who will maintain the park? The baseball field?
That will be Cubs Charities, but we'll obviously be hiring from both North Lawndale, or, we want to hire from within. So, but the facility will be managed by the nonprofit Cubs Charities, or a separate nonprofit that would be established.
From Sean Bowler, in your video at the 329 mark, it shows 50 to 100 permanent jobs. And at the 259 mark, it shows 8 to 10 permanent jobs. Can you clarify why the two different set of numbers?
So one was for the Cubs Urban Youth Academy, and the other is for the Pritzker Realty Group facility.
Did the community members specify that they wanted a baseball diamond?
The people that were engaged, that we interviewed throughout the feasibility study process, definitely indicated there was a need for year-round, particularly year-round ability to play ball. And this would be the first facility of that type on the west side of Chicago that would have a full indoor field. And Leisha and them can talk more about that field as well as the other services inside of the building.
I just want to lift up one thing here, that while it is baseball and softball, this is just a vehicle for youth development, and that is what we are really striving for here. The background of our team at Cubs Charities has been invested in sport for youth development for almost 20 years, and that is really what the focus is here, is to utilize sport for that vehicle. So while it is baseball and softball, because that's what we know, we anticipate that this will be much more than that.
From Bill Williams, what are the programming plans for the park? Will the park be financially supported by the Cubs in perpetuity?
So currently, the Cubs Charities has a continuum of programming from 5 years old through 22. Not many of the programs would be housed in the facility, but we intend to work with the community. We are hoping to form a community advisory board right at the beginning with Prim Lawrence Group, and we would want youth voice at the table first and foremost, but also obviously the residents and local community-based organizations to help inform the programming that would go into the facility as well.
From sorry, did I hear? From Carl Ellis, making a comment that he doesn't see a lot of planning for community involvement, that it's great for the young ball player, but what about mom? What about mothers?
So our intention with the community center would also be similar to other academies across the country, where during the school hours or other hours, there would be family fitness engagement, different local groups that could come in and use the facility. We anticipate this being an indoor track as well as a fitness and weight room. And so we do anticipate having fitness and health and wellness programming for adults and seniors.
Again, another question from Stephen Stoltz is, how is this project an income producing project since it seems geared towards charity? so much of the project is geared towards charity? How is it an income producing project?
Sean, you want to take?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that question is directed at the Pritzker Realty Group project. The economic impact there is the construction jobs, the permanent jobs, and the tax dollars generated. That's really the economic impact. We have to look at both projects, although we're running parallel and taking down hopefully all 20 acres. Our project, the Pritzker Realty Group project, I would look at is really the economic engine. It's the jobs, and it's the true tax impact, and the social mission of the Cubs Charities is the other side of the equation.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers the question, but I'm trying.
I just want to make note that I did get a message that there were hands raised, but I don't see your hands raised, so I'm moving through. I don't see any hands raised. We have time for 2 more questions. And so this question is from Deshaun Branch. It's how will you all work to combat gentrification of the community, as they assume that this project will attract a lot of wealthy white people who will want to be close to this?
Lisa, you want to take that one?
Julian, you can take it too, whichever.
Go ahead, you start. Sure.
Well, I don't know exactly the wealthy white children. The majority of our program participants at Cubs Charities are not of that socioeconomic background. We are, our team at Cubs Charities has been working in our communities for many years, and that would be the intention. So I don't anticipate seeing that happening at the Academy.
And look, I will just add that, I know there was some, comments about the video earlier, but the narrative is true that many of our young kids, those who are aspiring baseball players or those who want to play ball, period, don't have these facilities available to them. And as someone who grew up on the South Side and actually lived in North Lawndale for 10 years, owning a home over there, I see it every day in terms of our kids and children not having access to the fields, or better yet, having the safety and security to be able to play in some of these parks, and worried about crossing gang lines by going into one neighborhood and the next. Our goal here is to provide a safe place to play, and in fact increase access to diamond sports for both boys and girls. And then also as a dad who, with a son who plays travel ball, I've traveled across the country into the suburbs to some of these super facilities, where I've been out and seen families, well-to-do and wealthy families who are participating on weeks in and weeks out. So we feel that it's time for a facility like this in the city of Chicago, more particularly on the west side.
So I think you muted yourself, Julian.
Something that supports the whole youth, and we are invested in this. And so the goal is that this will be built by the community, for the community, to make sure that we are investing in the future community, but more importantly, the future of our youth, who I think desperately, who would want and also would benefit from this, not just for today, but for the future.
Okay, last question, and you have like 1 minute to answer it. Okay, so how do you define participant? How will the youth from the community be able to benefit from this project? This person is concerned about community utilization of the project. So how will the youth benefit?
So all of the programs that we have been implementing with different organizations across the city all concentrate on not just the athletics, but on academic achievement and civic engagement. And the academies across the country have demonstrated that the youth participants that have been a part of their facilities have gone on to achieve academic scholarships, athletic scholarships, careers in sports management, and have thrived not just athletically, but obviously academically. So we anticipate that those same outcomes would happen at our facility. But again, the part of what's really critical here is to make sure that when we are in the design phase and as we're moving forward with this project, if we were to get the bid, that the youth voice is at the table. They are the ones who we need to hear from.
Thank you. And there are several other questions that are in the Q&A, and DPD will ask you to respond to those so that they can give those back to the roundtable. So thank you, Cubs Charity and Pritzker Realty, and thanks to the roundtable and community participants for tonight. Most of your questions were centered around the RFP and asking questions about job creation and about the community involvement in the project and how it generates wealth and as stated with jobs. You also had some questions around the carbon footprint in the area and funding for the various projects. So with that, I will turn you back over to Ethan Lassiter with the department. Ethan.
Thank you, Claudette, and thank you to all the development teams and all the community groups our community members who have been here tonight participating. Thank you for your time. I'm going to run through very quickly next steps, but again, we'll be doing the same thing tomorrow night, 5:30 still with the 3 other teams. So very briefly wanted to mention that an online survey will be coming out to collect additional feedback and that you can all participate in. I want to note a couple next steps about the kind of feedback process. So again, every Q&A and comment shared here and collected in the online survey and in the kind of additional emailed feedback will be incorporated into the review process. And then based on that community feedback, our internal city review, and the financial feasibility of each project, we will send back out to the community a kind of a list of the show of what the results were. If it looks like there's a clear number 1 or clear top group, we will try to say that and see if that matches your impression of the projects. Once we have a finalist selected, there will certainly be a continuing negotiation and proposal refinement process as this whole process moves forward. But again, email will be sent out with the online survey and links to all the material that's been shared thus far at this meeting and before this meeting. And we hope to see you tomorrow evening as well. With that, that's it from me, Claudette or Alderman Scott. I don't know if you're around.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Claudette for hosting us or moderating us this evening. Thank you to the department. Commissioner Cox is still here. I know he's very interested in this, and I want to thank him for his involvement. And again, most of all, I want to thank each and every one of, before I thank each and every one of you, I want to thank all the participants that were here this evening. I think we saw some very insightful, thoughtful projects, as well as some very insightful and thoughtful answers. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you guys who are here today. I would ask you to invite somebody else who may be interested in this project. Tomorrow, we cannot have enough community participation. So the more folks that we have here, the better it is for us to make an informed decision. Again, thank you all. Be safe and good night.
Thank you, Alderman Scott.
Good night, everyone.